Well, fall camp is underway, and Jeff Lebby didn't hold back. Hear what he said about setting the tone on day one.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. Fall practice is finally here. So we got to talk about that a lot today. We have been talking about some of the assistant coaches' interviews from this week. We have another one as Matt Holececk talked about the quarterback room. He also made some interesting comments about who the backup quarterback would be. Yeah. Obviously, Shapen is the going to be the starter. Man, could there be some red flags with his comments? We'll talk about that in the next segment. And then, of course, we always end it with what is up in Starkville, next up in Starkville this weekend, but and into next week. But let's start with Jeff Lebby. Obviously, fall camp started on Thursday. Already loving the highlight videos that were out. And the pump-up videos that were out. Lebby was available to the media after practice, and a lot of coaches' answers. His first question was just, did you see any kind of retention you'd like from spring? And he said, I thought the guys that practiced with us in the spring that had good springs, it showed up. They spent time in the summer, and we're so much further ahead today than we have been day one. So excited about that. We have a ton of work to do. I think our leadership is in a much better place, and that helps as much as anything. So, a lot of coach speak.
It's almost getting the point where they're talking about leadership too much. Like it's almost to that point where it's almost like you start to wonder if there's actually a lack of leadership, and they're hoping that if we bring it up, someone will step up, because it's literally been, what was it, like 3 load hold answers were about it, 2 from Bumpus in the wide receiver room, and now it's the first thing Lebby brings up. It's either this is a team of leaders or there's a severe leadership vacuum.
Yeah, I think there's a big leadership issue, honestly, on the team. I think they're trying to call them out to get them fired up. And the one thing that you're going to learn about Lebby, if you don't already know, he's going to say a lot that we have a lot of work to do. It's like almost in every answer, he's going to say it throughout the year. He did that when he was an assistant coach. It's just kind of his go-to line. And he did that again when asked about the offensive line. He said, body type wise, we're where we want to be. But again, we have a lot of work to do. These guys understanding how we practice, how we do what we do, the physicality that we have to play with, give us to give us an opportunity to win. Those are real things, and they haven't been with us. Excited about that group and the potential, but we have to come together in a hurry, make sure we're dialed in on the best 5, 6, or 7 that can play winning football for us. So first off, the positive is the body type. That was something that they had to get bigger, and Phil Lodeholt, we talked about it yesterday. He's really emphasized that and getting guys that look like him. And so we talked about all the guys they added in the portal on a Thursday show about how big they are. And so that's a good thing to see. But then again, he called out kind of what Lodeholt has called out is the physicality. You can be big. Doesn't matter if you're not physical.
Yeah, and that's very concerning. I think it's one thing if an offensive line coach calls you out for it, because anyone who watches enough football knows the offensive line coaches are just a different breed of human. So where they expect a different level of physicality, when your head coach is going, we need to work on our physicality, that means it's very much showing up.
Yeah.
So that, again, is concerning that you have all of these massive humans and they're not being physical enough. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, for sure. And that's why it's going to be interesting to see how that line progresses in the fall in terms of what the coaches are saying throughout the fall camp, and then obviously into the season, see what they're able to do, because that Southern Miss game to start the season, if they come in and push them around, then there's obviously big red flags, because again, you can be big, but if you're not physical, that's not a good combo.
It's not.
Yeah, because that usually, if you're big, you're usually getting beat with speed already. So then if you're not physical and you're getting beat that way, you're going to get dominated. Yeah, for sure. And the one thing that we talked about the leadership part, the one player that they have really talked about his leadership and pointing it out is Isaac Smith. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Yeah. But he's the one guy that I feel good about as a leader because he's really the one guy that they've talked about in a positive light when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, he's the one that's being named by multiple people as this guy is a leader. It's not we have leadership. It is Isaac Smith is a leader, and he is leading us from, on the field, off the field, his toughness, his passion, all of this. That's what you want. I mean, and you look at how he plays and that, but so there's not necessarily like, we know he's the leader of this team, but it can't just be one person. Yeah. So, but hey, it's great to have him, especially with how highly he is talked about in that role.
Yeah, for sure. And the other one that he was asked about, kind of answer that stood out to me, was he was asked, what did you want to see from the guys in that first practice? He said, you have to put yourself in position to push past exhaustion and to have the ability to make the play and execute when you're tired. It's a different kind of strain than even summer workout. Those are the things we want to see. Now we want to see improvement from today to tomorrow. It's that simple. If we do that, we'll be where we want to be. And, he didn't say if they excelled at that or if they struggle with that. But I will say this, in fairness to the team and stuff, usually that first day you don't excel at that because it's your first day. It's just different.
Yeah, and you can do as much conditioning work as you want.
Right.
But, anyone who's put on pads and run around knows that's just it's a different type of tired that you get when you're out
there. It's a different type of being in shape.
Yes.
Running sprints and then running and playing football are two different types.
Yeah, it's a very different thing. And so, I mean, hopefully, once again, long series of practices before we get to that first game. And normally it's, second, third game by the time guys are really in game shape, because it is it's just so different. And then even games are different because it's so long. So hopefully, they get there. I'm sure they will from an in shape standpoint. Right. If they don't, there's a massive issue that we haven't even got to.
Yeah, and it's even in other sports, it's just a different kind of shape unless you're playing. I remember in high school, our football team would come from winning the state championship, and those guys the following Monday, right after winning, would come to basketball practice, and they would be dead when we were running sprints. And you're like, you just played a whole football season. How are you tired? We're the ones that haven't been doing anything. But it's just different for every sport. It's from once you're in it versus, just running sprints or playing football versus basketball and so on and so forth. So early the first week or two, you're gonna try to just get your legs,
especially in the heat that everyone in the
right, right, and that's when knock on wood, we haven't seen anything, but that's usually when you see some injuries, because when you get tired, that's when things kind of get sloppy with technique and things like that, and an injury happens. And we were already seeing some injuries in the NFL. We've seen several reported injuries. We're seeing even in college some reported injuries as well. So knock on wood that everyone doesn't get injured, and if someone does, it's always minor stuff, because everyone gets kind of nicked up in the fall, and so you just hope it's nothing serious. But I mean, again, not a lot was said from Lebby. There wasn't really anything that popped out. He talked about the backup quarterback position, but we'll talk about that in the next segment, because Holececk also talked about the backup quarterback position, and his answer was kind of surprising. But I mean, overall, first day in the books.
It's the first day.
It's the first day. That's about the only positive we can say.
Yeah, there wasn't much to draw from the majority of his answers. I mean, for lack of a better term, he towed the company line, just very much coach speak. This is what we expect. This is what we need to work on. And honestly, it kind of sounded like he wrote these answers a week ago, and so he knew what he was going to say.
And Lebby is very good about saying a lot without saying anything at all.
Yes, he is. So I look forward to dissecting these press conferences throughout the year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up next, we got to talk about the quarterback room. Like I said, Holececk made some comments about the backup quarterback, and I think they are a red flag of the stuff he said. So we'll talk about that. That's coming up next. Well, if you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day isn't always easy. That's why I've been loving Drip Drop. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. I've already been able to try some of the products at Drip Drop. My favorite is the watermelon flavor. If you're a bit, and I do even the zero sugar one, but if you, so they have zero sugar options or regular options, but if you're a big watermelon fan, I love watermelon. I know a lot of people like lemon lime. Landon's one of them, loves the lemon lime flavor. I even tried the peach. I like peach. I'm a big peach fan. There's one other one in my packet, but I don't think I've tried it just yet. So, but yeah, all the ones that I've tried so far, I've really liked. But right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so we got to get into the comments of quarterback coach Matt Holececk. Like I said, he was asked, and we'll get into this positive stuff about Blake Shapen, but my focus was kind of on the backup. Obviously, we know Shapen is the starter. We've heard about his leadership. We've heard about, obviously if he stays healthy, the offense, we've heard that all summer. The backup quarterback competition has kind of been what's going to happen. You have Luke Croman-Hawk. You have Kamario Taylor. Like, who's going to come out? Mm-hmm. Well, he was asked about it. He said, do you have any idea who would be the backup behind Shapen? He said, that's not for me to comment on. I'll defer to Coach Leb on any of those kinds of questions. I'll talk about why that's a red flag. But before we do that, let's say what Lebby said. He said it will be a competition and a constant battle. I see that happening all the way through. I'm excited about both those guys in a big-time way. It's healthy. It's good. Great for the unit, the position group, and I love coaching both of them. So that's more of the answer that you hope your offensive coordinator says.
Yeah.
But that's not what he said.
No, it makes you wonder why he's not giving that answer.
Right.
And you hope it's because they're both performing so well that it's hard to say which one's beating the other, but you just don't, that's never why. That's never why. It's so either one of them is performing very badly and he's not going to throw him under the bus this early, or they're both performing badly.
What it's telling me, and this is why it's a red flag to me, 2 reasons. One, with him deferring to the head coach on a statement like that means that Lebby is having a very tight grip on his assistant coaches, and that is never a good thing. If you're not letting your assistant coaches be assistant coaches, that's not good. And I understand Lebby's a former quarterback coach. He is the offense coordinator, basically play caller. Like, I understand that, and so he's got his hands in that, and so – but that's still a red flag to me that he's not allowing these guys to talk and give their own answers and then think, oh, shoot, I don't know if I can answer that. Okay, let's just defer to Lebby. Let him do it. And then the other reason why it's a red flag is because that tells me that he's not really letting the quarterback coach the quarterbacks, because what it tells me is Holececk might have an answer for us on that one.
Yeah.
He might have who he thinks is performing better. But he doesn't want to say that and Lebby be like, no, I think this guy's performing better.
Right.
And so he's worried about saying something and then Lebby getting upset at him for saying it. That's not good either. I can name countless coaches. Lincoln Riley's one of them. Landon and I were kind of talking off camera. Mike Gundy was another one that he brought up that has done it more recently. As far as controlling your assistant coaches,
and obviously Belichick, but I mean, that's different.
Belichick, especially in the NFL.
Yeah,
that stuff doesn't go good. I mean, and staying in the SEC, we heard Venables was that way with the defense, and that's why Zach Alley left to go to West Virginia. So that's not usually a good sign.
No, it's not. It points to a bigger issue because either you just don't want them talking or you don't trust them to do their job, essentially. Because if you're not going to let them give an answer on a position group they're essentially in charge of, yes, Lebby makes final decisions, but I mean, he's in charge of the quarterbacks. He's the one that's working with them every day. And if he can't make the call, why is he there?
Yeah, the other red flag is Lebby spending too much time coaching the quarterbacks and not the whole team, which that's a red flag with your head coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that happen with head coaches from time to time that come from being a really good offensive coordinator, really good defensive coordinator.
Way too much on one side of the ball.
It's hard for them to let go of being the coordinator, but if you can't let that go, you're going to struggle as a head coach.
Yeah, and 1 year, so we can't really say that's what happened off of last year, but if it continues this year, I mean, that signs point to, maybe that's Lebby's issue is he hasn't figured out how to quit being a coordinator and be a head coach. So you hope it's something to do with just their play is actually close, good or bad. I mean, even if it's bad, that's obviously not good for the long-term outlook of the team, but it's probably better for a coaching standpoint if that's what it is. And maybe it's a situation, and this is something I brought up way back when we were talking about who would be the backup. I think if an in-game situation happens where Shapen goes down, Kromenhoek's your backup. But I think if it's long-term injury, Taylor takes over. Because I think you have to – because Taylor's skill set is so different from these other two that you would actually have to build it. I mean, obviously he could succeed, but you want to build it to take advantage of it, whereas Kromenhoek is a very similar type of quarterback to Shapen, and you can just slot him in.
Yeah, especially with your game plan that you came up with that week. But yeah, no, I think this could be a red flag. And if Lebby doesn't work out, you could point back to this moment as, okay, that was a telltale sign. And, I want to say props to him for letting his assistant coaches be available for media because not a lot of coaches do that. But you got to let them answer questions. If they're, and I will say that was like the only one that Holececk ever answered that way. But still, it's like, if he can't answer every single question that he's asked up there. No, I'm not asking him to answer like if a player on his position group got in trouble and they're like, hey, what's his status? And he's like, hey, you got to talk to the head coach. That I get. I'm not talking about that stuff. Yeah, I'm talking about performance stuff. If he's not able to talk about his room and what he's seeing performance-wise, and he has to, reserve that for the head coach, that's a problem.
Yeah, because, I mean, his answer seriously could have been, well, they're both playing well. They bring different things to the table. We haven't made a decision yet.
Yeah.
That's the same answer as what he said. He just didn't. He just gave you a non-answer instead of, hey, go ask my boss.
Right. The other one that, and I know we're running out of time on this one, but Blake Shapen talked at media days that he did not do or take strength work seriously until rehab. Yeah, he was asked about that. He said that he has seen an urgency to play a full season and stay healthy, so he's seen a difference in Shapen. And he said the strength and conditioning, all that is a way to help him maintain, stay up in the pocket, but also withstand this conference. I think that's going to be big in terms of him staying healthy. And, surprised he admitted that, but I'm glad he was honest about it. And we'll see if it changes the results this year.
I love an honest quarterback. I hate the ones who act like they don't know records are coming or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, but he did that. They're talking about how he's knowing when to get down. So hopefully all of this leads to him being healthy for a full season, and this backup quarterback conversation is pointless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And maybe, you say it's pointless. Maybe he's so good one game that we get up big and we find out who the backup quarterback is.
Yeah.
That would be the positive. But no, I do like an honest quarterback. So I'm glad he was honest with it and honest with his assessment of where he was and didn't defer to the head coach for an answer on that.
Right.
So, yeah, he actually answered it. But no, I think it's going to help him a lot this year. And especially, in the SEC, he's going to take a lot more hits. And he's going to take a lot of hits. And so, especially with the offensive line as well. Right. Yeah, that too. So it's good to see him admit, no, he needs to work on that, and he is working on it. So
yeah.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about what we are expecting and looking forward to this upcoming week in Starkville. Don't go anywhere.
We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, and that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. And my favorite thing about Game Time is the panoramic seat view. You know, you buy tickets somewhere, you want to know what your view is going to look like. I do not like not knowing what my view is going to be when I go to a show, a game, whatever it is. You want to know what you're buying, and Game Time lets you do that with that panoramic seat view. I use it all the time, even if I'm not about to buy tickets to something, lets me know where's a good seat when a show does come up. And with Game Time, those prices actually go down as they get closer to game time. And the price you see is the price you pay with no hidden fees. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, what are you looking forward to this weekend and into next week?
It's really next week of practice. You know, there'll be, like we've talked about, some of the things that we don't know. Who's going to be the starting, tackles, guards, who's the backup quarterback, all that. Even if the coaches aren't giving us straight answers, more practice time will. We'll start to see the groups that actually come together, and we'll get to see that, and just seeing more highlight reels pop up.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that one, because that was actually where I was going to go too, with just practice. Obviously, recruiting never stops, so you look forward to that and see if anything else pops up or pops off that you get a commit maybe that you weren't expecting or something like that. But I always love. I hate having to wait for the football season, but I do love the first week of practice, because you get a lot of good stuff, some good content. A lot of the highlight reels, a lot of stuff that gets you fired up. They always post that video of right off the first day of players coming out and fired up and jumping around, and they're doing their stretches, and that always fires me up every time I see that. Also, this is usually the time when you see like a walk-on get put on scholarship. Those are my favorite videos. I don't know if that's going to happen at Mississippi State. I'm just saying in general. Yeah, college football, I love those kind of videos. So I always look forward to those. But yeah, just looking forward to this week of practice and seeing what happens, and following all the message boards to see any notes that are out there about what is taking place, and seeing who's playing well and who's maybe taking a step that maybe was unexpected, or maybe that you're hoping would take a step and has took a step. So obviously there's still a long way to go, so you're not going to know a lot this first week or two. So but yeah, that's what I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and there's so many battles going on in pretty much every position, like with how many new faces are in, how many people thought they had jobs that just didn't perform well last year. So a lot of jobs are open. So I mean, this is a crucial practice session. These next couple of weeks are huge for all these players and for these coaches. I mean, we don't think Lebby's job's on the line, but that doesn't mean every assistant in coaching for their job right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, my name is Jaron. Check out my work over in Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. We finally can post again, because it's always first. We're able to post again every single day. Our limit is back down to 0, so we're good now. But yeah, have a great weekend, and until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.